This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
So yeah, we are adults.
Yes.
Are we ready to talk about books we read as children?
Right.
Well, this book, we were actually adults by the time this book came out.
That is true. Yeah, we were unfortunately a very different place than when it first came out.
Yes, very much so. God.
Oh, man. I just got reminded about Ravens. Someone was asking about, why does my book start differently in Eye of the World? And I was like, oh, God, Ravens. That's right. I forgot about Ravens. That chapter. And so now we're talking about Egwene. It's so funny to think about that dumbass chapter. No offense to whoever wrote it, because I know it wasn't Robert Jordan. That dumbass chapter about Egwene. But this is a good one. We got a couple of good chapters here. I think these are very satisfying.
Yeah.
If you look at the 3 books that Sanderson wrote as one book, this is we're halfway through the second book, which is halfway through the trilogy. So we're kind of past most of the Sander slowness. We're not quite at the Sander Lanch. There's always a little bit there where he's still warming up and still moving a few pieces around, but you get the occasional victory. You get the occasional conclusion, which we do in these chapters. So really liking that.
Yeah, the beginning of any Sanderson book is rough, and we have finally exited the beginning. We're now at the beginning of the middle section before the full Sander Lanch initiates. There's a section between the beginning and the Sander Lanch that we are now entering. And this is, much better. I feel like the last several episodes have been a lot of really dragging ourselves through it. But I enjoyed these chapters. There's a lot of Egwene being Amerlin.
Yeah.
Not Egwene being a lovesick girl. Not Egwene being in a power struggle. Egwene doing Amerlin stuff. And she's competent, and she's having reunions with people, and I enjoyed it.
And Nynaeve healing, right?
And Nynaeve healing madness, which she's already done one epic healing scene that we had a good time with, right? We've already had 2 healings, truly, right? She healed Stilling, and then she helped Rand cleanse the taint.
Yeah, heal the world.
And now for a trifecta, she's going to heal madness, which we've been looking forward to for a while. And yeah, it's a really good scene. It's really well written.
She's like, you know what? I know I cleansed the taint, but I didn't cleanse it hard enough. So I'm going to wash every little bit of it out of people.
You're going to go wash everyone's personal taint.
Yeah. The meaning of that word has changed over the years.
Oh, I wonder what Robert Jordan thought of that transition as it was happening. Just wait, it means what now?
Wait.
I'm sure someone came up to him and was like, "Sir, why did you pick this word?" He's like, "I didn't pick it when it meant that."
Right. I would be curious to trace the origin of the word taint to mean the piece of skin down there, as opposed to something is tainted.
What is the chain of custody on that?
I'm sure the internet could tell me, but I'm not Googling that while we're on it.
I mean, at least put on safe search. Or not safe search, incognito mode.
Probably both.
Yeah, really? Incognito and safe at the same time.
Someone's like, why? What do you do? What's the point of both?
So I can find one result. The only result that exists at the intersection of those 2 things. No, not really.
Yeah, the taint is the intersection of those 2 things.
No. Okay, we gotta stop. We gotta pull out. This is a tailspin. We have deranged singing in chat. Oh no.
Oh, come on. If we can't giggle at the taint thing every once in a while, are we really having fun with this?
I'm currently wearing my Harbor Master can find North Harbor at least 50% of the time shirt from WatCon.
Nice.
I wore it yesterday, and Brandon's like, "Where did you get that shirt from?" I'm like, "Oh, here's a 7-layer deep joke lore for the 45 people that have followed all of that for this time." It was for a good cause, okay? It was for charity. That's why I have it.
Oh, but the number of YouTube videos I've seen pop up where people are like, "Have you seen this island from Wheel of Time?" And then, yeah. Anyway.
Do we want to get into this book?
Phrasing. Yeah.
No!
All right. We are here to do Chapter 14, Avow, and we've got the Dream Terangrial, because this is in Tel'aran'rhiod, and the Dream Terangrial come up quite a bit, actually.
Oh, yeah. More than just being in the dream world. This is actually a topic of conversation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I guess that's my reading, isn't it?
It sure is.
Egwene walked up the side of a gentle slope, the grass green at her feet, the air cool and pleasant. Lazy butterflies floated from blossom to blossom, like curious children peeking into cupboards. Egwene made her shoes vanish so she could feel the blades beneath her feet. She took a deep breath, smiling, then looked up at the boiling black clouds. Angry, violent, silent despite flashes of amethyst lightning. Terrible storm above, quiet, placid meadow beneath. A dichotomy of the world of dreams. Oddly, Tel'aran'rhiod felt more unnatural to her now than it had during her first few visits using Varen's Ter'angrial. She'd treated this place like a playground, changing her clothes on a whim, assuming that she was safe. She hadn't understood. Tel'aran'rhiod was about as safe as a bear trap painted a pretty color. If the wise ones hadn't straightened her out, she might not have lived to become Amerlin. And I'll cut it there, because there's not really a good cutoff point for that. It's just vibes and thinking, and that's really what's happening. Is Tel'aran'rhiod is dangerous, Egwene is returning to her roots, Varen's Ter'angrial is relevant, and the wise ones and their education matter. Like, that's really the core of what this chapter is about.
I do like the storm above iconology. It kind of, again, I always think of Tel'aran'rhiod as the sort of the shell of the Dark One's prison, and so it makes sense that sort of you have this descending cloud as that prison erodes, as it begins to affect more and more, the Dark One's basically infecting more and more of that prison.
Yeah, totally. It totally makes sense to me with that headcanon. Like he's scratching at the sky, he's pushing on the bubble, he's creating more friction, and you got electrical discharge in the metaphysical firmament.
And some of that is the bubbles of evil that he's able to push through, and he's pushing through more and more and more of those. And those are little pieces of the dream world that then alter what's going on in the physical realm. So yeah, very not safe, right? Like, think about that. What if it turns out this whole world, alternate world they've been playing in, is actually just like the shell of the Dark One's prison? And it's like, oh yeah, you've been dancing like 5 feet away from the Dark One on his glass little prison, right? With your little hooves.
Right, yeah, totally. He's been watching you the whole time. He was right there.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I always like the theory that like maybe Ishamael for the most part was trapped. When he was trapped and he got closer to the edge, he was trapped in the world of dreams when the door was sealed, and so he could actually reach out because he was a dream walker. And that's one of the ways he was able to affect every 40 years or so. He got closer, and he wasn't really. I know he was there in person as an advisor for Arthur Hawkwing, but I kind of think like maybe he wasn't. There's a lot of question about like when he was effective, so maybe he was only out in person for a few years, but he's able to like be in people's dreams for like a bit of time around that period of time before he physically got out, as he was getting closer and closer to the surface.
Right, and then he's like, no, I'm going to show up, like next week, I'll actually be in the flesh. Oh, look, here I am. Now you know everything I say is real. Yeah, I like that. I like adding weird dream powers to make more bendy-wendy eye of the worldism stuff. And you need to answer Mom Jeans' question, because that's a good question. Does that mean that the dream world was created at the moment he was imprisoned?
Well, of course, it was all created at the same time. The wheel, the world, the prison. The Dark One was created with the world, with Tel'aran'rhiod at once as a prison for the Dark One.
That makes sense to me. The three constants, right? They all have to come into existence at the same time in order to be evenly balanced. The Dark One, the Creator, and Tel'aran'rhiod.
Like in the moment of creation, there was the Dark One, there was the Creator, and there was the Dark One's prison.
First there was none, and then there was three.
Yeah, right. Because the cycle is the Dark One's prison exists, a hole is drilled in it, that hole is patched, the patch breaks down, it's remade as a new prison so that when the wheel comes around again, it is made whole, right? And so it must have been made whole and again, because this is the wheel that always rolls, and that doesn't have a beginning and ending, right? The Dark One's always been imprisoned.
Right, and the Dark One, the world has never existed without the Dark One. Like, as we see in Rand's vision of like how the world would look sans Dark One, it's like, well, that's not a world that exists, right? It just doesn't. The Dark One is entropy and chaos, and this is necessary for life to form. The
choice has to be there, right? The choice to end everything and end in darkness is a part of the human experience. And without it, you're not human.
Yeah, you can't actually purify the darkness completely away. If you're going to do light, you're going to have shadow. It's just kind of the thing. And yeah, shadows exist for exactly as long as the light does. So
there's a moment here where she says she would have to cover an equal distance before this was done in a far shorter time, sort of talking about her growth and everything. And like, well, yeah, it's because Sanderson started over again on some characters.
Well, but also just like we've spent, 2 years of in-book time over all these books, and now we have to conclude the actual last battle in like the next 2 months or something, right? There's in and out world layers to that.
Totally. I guess that is the whole, like, all this has been preparing for the test, but the test is here. And sometimes you learn as much on the test as you do leading up to it.
Genuinely, yeah.
And I like this line. Both problems and possible solutions seemed uncountable. They overwhelmed her, drowning in all of the things she should be doing. Only because I'm feeling that way sometimes myself. That just, oh my God, I should be cleaning the house and grocery shopping and, oh, I need to be making money. Oh, and I should be socializing. Oh, I need to rest and take care of myself. Oh, like, it's like, oh yeah, she's doing that, except, with life and the last battle and the White Tower and everything, right? This idea that like, oh, she just had to unite the White Tower and then things would be okay. And now she's past that point.
Right. And it's like, it's a necessary side effect of tunnel vision, right? You have to tunnel vision onto something and say, okay, I'm going to get through this because that is what I'm working towards. That was what I was saying before in earlier books, right? Her thing where she says, I'm going to scrub the patch of floor in front of me. And I'm like, yeah, that's great life advice. But yeah, this is that really awkward moment after, once you get to the goal, you can exit the tunnel. Now what? Right? This is a huge existential crisis for like an Olympic gold medalist. But for someone like Egwene, it's just, well, now what's the next step? And it's options paralysis. And, looking at my life, it's like, okay, yeah, I've got the house, I've got the degree, everything's cool. Now what am I doing with my life? What is the thing that I'm doing? What's my capital W work?
Or in this case, what am I doing with the White Tower, right? Like, this is supposed to be the most potent force to oppose the Dark One. Here's the last battle. What do I do? Well, she's still kind of heavily focused on cleaning up the White Tower, right? She's still focused inward. She still knows there's a Forsaken among the ranks. And she's almost entirely focused on taking care of that problem.
Right. And I mean, and this is the trap that, the electoral brainworm takes us into, right? We just have to get this one person elected in this one election and then everything will be fine. And then no, you have to keep the pedal to the metal. And then you have to also be willing to go back into that hyper-focused tunnel in just 2 years or 4 years. And this is the cycle that is it's a real human problem. Humans find themselves in this conundrum at scale or in their personal lives just over and over again. This is a normal thing. But yeah, when you have an institution as powerful as the White Tower to work with, you expect to have a little more agency. I mean, Rand rails against this a lot, right? Like, I'm supposed to be the center of the world, but like, I can't make any choices for myself. It's the soldiers with no power that have all the agency, right? It's sometimes too much power and agency is not a good thing.
I feel like presidents have always railed against the golden chains of the office, right? This idea that like, I have to follow the law. I can't just do whatever I want. There's procedures in place, and I have to, there's very few points where someone gets to make a choice if they're following standard protocol and
the law.
Morals. Yeah.
Standard mores that have been set by generations of presidents before them. Literal constitutional laws that have been decided on by generations of people in power.
If there was any enforcement of those said laws. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it is a common, that's like the entire thrust of The Crown on Netflix, right? It's like, oh, look at these poor royals and this life that they can't make any choices in. Like, that's the entire shtick, is that it's a gilded cage, right? This is a common theme, is that leaders have less choice. But Egwene at least chose this role, and now she's simply overwhelmed by options. It's not like she was forced into it by virtue of birth or something.
No, I mean, there was a moment though where they summoned her, and her being summoned as the Amyrlin seat, right, wasn't much of a choice on her part. It was set up by Suan.
No, but she's chosen repeatedly by now.
Yes. But that initial choice was definitely a sink or swim moment, because if she didn't swim in that moment, like, I don't think she would have survived it. So that's why I really talk about, like, how much of a choice was it for her to become the Amerlin that she became? Because otherwise, she, not very many people survive becoming a former Amerlin. Just ask Suan, right? Like,
right.
didn't go that well for her.
Yeah. Now she thinks about how she's got 2 meetings tonight, which is going to take us 2 chapters. That's why this is 1 episode. And she says her biggest difficulty was going to be the perceptions of the people she met with. Neither group would see her as what she had become. That's what makes the reunion aspect of these chapters so good, is we have to deal with the characters coming to terms with seeing Egwene as who she's become. It's quite satisfying. Egwene is set up for disappointment, and she is pleasantly surprised.
Nynaeve's willingness to change, I think, is a big part of it as well, right? Like, Nynaeve has humbled herself finally, right? That almost back to the willing to accept the one power from when she was drowning, right? That was a real change of character moment in her, where she didn't have to become angry anymore, and she was willing to accept that there are things she cannot control, including the one power, right? And including her friends. So she's really grown ever since then. One of the reasons why I really did miss her on screen is we kind of saw her with Rand, but like really only from Rand's POV, and we didn't get this sort of like, Jordan wrote her as accepting that she couldn't change things, and then she went and helped Rand and was just there to help Rand, right? Like I feel like we didn't really get that from her POV anymore. It was just like, okay, she's taken care of. She can go be Rand's, second channeler. She'll hold the Kalimdor at the last battle. But I do like that we get a little more character development from her here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really fun. But first, we do the wise ones. We go to the Stone of Tyr, the heart of the stone, where we always meet, and we meet with Bear and Amis.
Mm-hmm. Which, again, why they meet there when that's where people are always watching. I wonder if the people watching were always like the Aiel, the wise ones, the whole time.
That's why they don't mind meeting there. Like, well, it's fine if I'm doing it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I never understood why they continued to meet in the stone long after Rand was out of the stone. It's like, that was a moment for the Aiel, the whole Stone of Tyr, heart of the stone. Like, that was a thing, but like, it's over now?
But more a moment for Rand, right, than for the Aiel?
Well, but them conquering the stone was an important part of why that moment was so big for Rand, right? Like, the Stone of Tyr shall never fall until the people of the dragon come. It's kind of an important moment for the Aiel. But it seems like, yeah, they would just maybe go back to, like, the Waste for their meetings after disencamping from...
Yeah, Cold Rock's Hold, Ruidian, any of those places. Yeah.
We can't go to Ruidian until Erenriad. It's warded in weird ways. Or is that not true anymore?
No, it's not true anymore. That he broke the warding.
But I would have expected, yeah, like a favorite spot in Cold Rock's Hold. Like, that would have been where I would assume they would want to go. But no, Stone of Tyr.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure the fight with Asmodean destroyed all protections that Ruidian had on it.
Yeah, I know it did all the ones in the physical world, but that would make sense that it also applies to the dream world. That would make sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's back in the real world. It's back. It doesn't have that separation anymore. That magical warding.
Yeah. So she gets there. There's 2 wise ones, and she updates them on the tower, and they go, so that's you're not coming back to us. I guess that's why you're wearing Wetlander clothes. Here, have the stole of the Amerlin. Soralia will be pissed, but congratulations.
Yeah. They honor her. They kind of say, it's a shame you're finding success there. We'd hope you'd come back to us where we could have you. It's good ribbing. It's like, hey, no, we want you to. Like, I feel like if someone gets a job at another company who's like a really good worker, you would say stuff like this to them. Like, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're CEO of that company, but we miss you over here. Stuff like that.
Right. A little bit more cutting than that because they are harsh. But yeah, Egwene has to be like, hey, you can't insult my people too much, but also, I get it. They have good rapport, and she's, still surprised at how much she respects them and needs their approval in order to. She's like, I'm a big, strong, confident Amerlin. I don't need no Aiel mom to tell me that I did a good job. But then when her Aiel moms tell her that she did a good job, she feels all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, you have grown much since we last met. That sent a thrill through Egwene.
Because, yeah, she did. She used their lessons to grow in ways that they would recognize. And, yeah, of course they recognize it.
They talk about Rand a little bit. He's embraced death. He has achieved the strength of the wind, not the strength of the stones.
I like that turn of phrase, the strength of the wind. Because, like, exhibit deserts. sand dunes, right? Like, who's stronger now, bitch?
Also, the opening of every book, right? A wind rose.
Well, and also that, yes.
Yeah. And then, if you've read Stormlight Archive, right? Sanderson has the thing with wind.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine where he got it from.
Yeah, I always wonder how much that came from the opening of these books.
I would assume it's entirely from the opening of these books. He credits Robert Jordan as inspiring him with wanting to be an author. So, like,
the wind, and especially in his last book of Stormlight Archive, the wind really becomes this thing that is sentient, separate from, well, it's one of his mysteries he hasn't revealed yet. But the wind really becomes this thing that gets a voice in his latest book. Spoilers, by the way.
And then they also say this cool thing about Egwene, that she gave them good material to work with, that no amount of untangling will make a shitty piece of string good. But if it's a good piece of cordage, then it's worth the work to untangle it. And I thought that was a cool way of describing Egwene's arc with them.
I also love the dig at the White Tower being like, oh yeah, the White Tower got you all knotted up and we straightened you out. Like they fucked it up real bad. Mm-hmm. It's like when you get somebody else's dog and you're like, oh, this dog has the worst training. I'll fix that.
Right, totally.
Not to compare Egwene to a dog.
No, but like to compare the Aiel wise ones to dog owners seems appropriate.
And then I think this is a really important line where she says, I wish there were a way to train more sisters in the ways of the wise ones. And that sets up what I would call the exchange student program that gets set up between the Sea Folk, the wise ones, and the White Tower.
Yep. The 3-way magical student exchange program that Egwene has a whole amazing vision for that she totally was going to make happen, that I don't think Cadsuane will continue with.
I'm going to pretend it is going to happen.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Because she's making these bargains already.
That's true. She's getting a lot of other people on board. So.
And then the kin is the retirement community, right? So
yeah, truly, she's bringing in a fourth. She's got a fourth bonus community.
Right. Is there any group of channelers that we know about that she's not bringing in?
Well, the Sharans and the Shanchan.
The Sharans and the Shanchan, yeah.
Oh, that's a good point, Vuji. Cadsuane does have a lot of respect for Sorelia, and by extension, wise ones. So. Yeah, okay, that's maybe not the most unrealistic thing.
And I see her seeing the advantages of that, especially with the massive numbers of novices they have. She's like, ship them off.
I know, right? Seriously, we can't handle them all.
But that sort of builds up, right? That's one of those threads that sort of follows through for the next couple of encounters with Egwene and the Wise Ones. Yeah, the several negotiations that build up to that student exchange program. Which is what I'm going to call it, because I think that's, like, I can't come up with a better name for, like, yeah.
Nobody would be any amount confused if that's what you called it. Everyone would know what you meant. Like, if you say Rand's wives, no one is confused about who you mean, even though it wasn't technically a marriage. Like, we all know. So, yeah, the Magical Student Exchange Program is definitely that. Wetlands to dry lands to White Tower lands.
And there's, like, 2 pages of them talking about, we're going to send young novices. It doesn't make sense to send full Aes Sedai because then they're not very moldable. And then, like, how to break that, like, oh, tell them it's for cultural understanding, not so they can learn, not so we can break them or learn from us. And Egwene's like, yeah, I know. That's it's kind of the whole point. So they're basically coaching her how to say it.
Yeah. Also, that's going to be a 2-way exchange. It's
right.
Not going to be 1-way. Because the cultural superiority of the Aiel is a little overblown. You're not that much better than us.
Well, and there's a lot of weaves the Aiel can learn from the Aes Sedai. They're not the best channelers, right? They've been learning, they've been exposed to them, but there's a lot less complex weaving in the Wise Ones.
Yeah, there are different schools of stuff. But it'll be a 2-way exchange. There won't be one superior group gracing the other with the gift of their knowledge, and it's so beneficent. No, it's going to be a 2-way exchange where both parties are strengthened.
Yeah, Vuji, I think it's hard to remember that Cadsuane isn't traditional because she's so old and has this, like, old school way about her. But at the same time, she doesn't do things the way Aes Sedai traditionally do them, right? She's willing to break the rules and make, because she just does things differently, right?
That's true. But yeah, once they're done with that, they move on to Rand and the seals.
Oh, well, Egwene breaks the news that they're going to break the seals on the Dark One.
Yeah, the seals discussion, which she gets a bunch of reaction she didn't expect to this.
She thinks they're going to resist him on that because she thinks they're kind of in his pocket, right? And when they're just like, oh, that is concerning. Yeah, we really need to talk to him about that. He's kind of dumb. She's like, oh, I didn't expect that. Whereas when she tells Elaine and Nynaeve, right, Elaine's kind of like, maybe he needs to do that. And Nynaeve's like, yeah, I don't, like they support him a little more and are a little more skeptical. They don't immediately assume it's the bad thing. And she thought she'd have support from them because they're her friends.
Yeah, and then she immediately, we'll get there when we get there, but then she immediately is like, well, clearly they're spending too much time with Rand if they don't agree with me immediately. And I'm just like, your high horse is way too high. Get down now. But whatever, we'll get there when we get there. Or I guess that is basically where we're going. Because, yeah, she ends the meeting with the Wise Ones and then heads off to the Hall of the Tower to wait for Elaine and Nynaeve.
And Nynaeve's not there immediately.
How dare.
Yeah. Not really sure why, if we ever get an explanation, or if she's just...
I think it's just she's on time and Egwene was early. And Egwene's the kind of person who thinks that if you're on time, you're late.
And the whole, like, we don't even get to mention the fact that time could be running differently in Teleron-Riyadh like we usually do. Like, none of that was like, oh, we went to, like, how can you expect someone to be on time in Teleron-Riyadh? It doesn't make any sense.
Especially in a world where clocks are not consistent. There's, like, comments in earlier books about, like, two clocks will not be telling time exactly the same, even if they're in the same room. Like, they're not, like, it's just clock technology is not that good. So, yeah, it's very silly of Egwene to be mad that Nynaeve wasn't there waiting for her already. Like, she's got CEO brain, girl boss brain.
Mm-hmm. And then I really wanted to get into this window.
All right. Yeah, let's do the window.
Okay. So, all right, let's read this. There, set into the glass below the flame of Tarvalin, was a large segment in the shape of the dragon's fang. That wasn't part of the original window. Egwene stepped forward, inspecting the glass. There's a third constant, beside the Creator and the Dark One, Varen's meticulous voice said. A memory from another time. There is a world that lies within each of these others, inside all of them at the same time, or perhaps surrounding them. Writers in the Age of Legends called it Teleron-Riyadh. And so that segment alone, right? The fact that there is a world that lies within each of these others, right? There's a center world, just like the Dark One's prison is the singular prison of the Dark One that lies at the center of the pattern. Like, I don't know, it lines up so well with the description of what I think the Dark One's prison would be.
Yeah, I'm nodding.
And we know the Dark One has to have always been in prison, which means Teleron-Riyadh was a constant from the beginning. Anyway, but that's a quote that I want to talk about. But before that, this window that exists, that's not the window that they built in the physical world.
Right.
Where is it coming from? Why is it in here? What is it a reference to?
So first of all, help me imagine it. This isn't just the ancient symbol of Aes Sedai, right?
No.
It's not the fang inset with the flame. Like,
no.
It's still separated somehow. I'm bad at visualizing things, so I'm just like trying to like picture. It's like an accent underneath the main design.
I'm trying. So think of if the flame of Tarvalin kind of looks like a 6, right?
Yeah.
And the fang kind of looks like a 9. Mm-hmm. Picture a 6 sitting on top of a 9.
Okay.
Like one right over the other one.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to a 6 and a 9 nestled together, like in the number 69.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly, because I kept thinking, like, is he, like, he's not describing the original Aes Sedai symbol, but that's almost, yeah. Okay, so they're separated vertically.
Mm-hmm. That was because they're set in the glass below the flame of Tarvalin.
Okay.
Was a large segment in the shape of the dragon's fang, and I imagine that shape is actually larger as well than it's a small flame of Tarvalin and there's a large dragon's fang underneath it.
Yeah, that's part of why I was having a hard time imagining. It was like, I thought they must be the same size, but then that feels really visually unbalanced.
Mm-mm.
So, okay. Anyhow, the visuals are less important than the symbology.
Right. And the fact that this was not built in our reality, right? And so I guess we have all these instances of other realities are sort of clashing together, right? We've seen that where rooms are moving, hallways are disappearing. Like, there really does appear to be some flexibility to the pattern right now.
Yeah. To me, this feels more like, I mean, first of all, it's in the world of dreams, so it gets to be a lot looser,
right,
with what it's doing. But it feels to me like it has always read to me like a sign of the beginning of the reconciliation between Tamerlane and Amerlin. that like Rand and Egwene's meeting maybe could have almost gone better. Like maybe there was a way that like they came out of that meeting hand in hand, ready to work together, but instead they left with Rand kind of manipulating her so that way their next meeting would go well. It wasn't bad, right? She didn't imprison him or anything, but like it is still the beginning of the healing between the male and female halves, because now the taint's been cleansed and now, Rand has had a good interaction with the Amyrlin and like they're coming together, healing that break. That's always been my like emotional vibe from it. But
yeah, I can think of a world where when the tower was attacked, the Black Tower came to help fight off the Shan-Chan.
Oh.
And that led to this reconciliation. And that's why the window was built with the Fang built into it, because that was a memorial of the fight and the fact that the Black Tower possibly also Rand, came to their aid in that fight.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about trying to construct an alternate timeline. I thought it was all allegory, but like in what world would that window design make sense? Right. I hadn't even thought of pulling that thread. I like that though, because we do have the tower sending embassies to be like, hey, what if we teamed up? And like, yeah, what if the timeline of that was different and they were closer when the Shan-Chan attacked?
What if Andral had already, thrown out the bad guys in the Black Tower?
Right. What if Logain was there on a diplomatic mission to hammer out the last of their treaties and then, oh, I guess we're friends now.
Right. That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, I like that thread to pull on. There's a lot of fun ways to imagine that could have gone. And that battle would have been way harsher on the Shan-Chan. They would not have considered that a win. They would not have walked away from that going, oh, that was a good decision. They would have been like, fuck, we lost everything. We have one rocket left in the entire army.
The one with Elida, of course.
Well, obviously that one would make it through. But yeah. Huh. That's cool, especially given that we do have the Black Tower doing a cool act of heroism during the last battle. Like the idea of them coming in to save a group that's on the brink of destruction does exist in the real timeline, albeit in the future. So I like it.
And the idea that that's sort of the expungement of the Dark Friends then allows them to come in and save the tower so that they can do their own expungement of the Dark Friends.
Right, and it wouldn't even have to be like, them saving the damsels in distress. It's just sometimes the magic halves have to team up against the anti-magic douchebags.
Right. And really hammering the point that making circles can beat not circles, right? Yes. By making a circle with men, which then makes it not infinitely, but exponentially more powerful. All right, so Nynaeve. So they're catching up a little bit, and then Egwene goes, yeah, so I got a question for you as my advisor. I'm an Amyrlin, and I'm really struggling with this thing that like everybody thinks I'm too young and is treating me like I'm not actually the Amyrlin and I'm just a child and that I don't deserve it. But what do you do with a woman who isn't coming to your summons? And then like just absolutely like nails Nynaeve on it and is just like
coats a knife in salt and just twists it.
Yeah, just twist it. Because Nynaeve is like, well, you gotta, be strict and don't let her ever forget that you're the Amyrlin and, hold the line and do this and do this. And she's like, so should I be doing that with you? And Nynaeve's like, fuck. I walked into that one.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to see Nynaeve being humbled in the face of authority, but it was really clever. And honestly, one of the things we love about Nynaeve is that she's a hypocrite. That's one of the things we find funny about her. So to have Egwene very legitimately call out her hypocrisy is like, well, I mean, you did deserve that.
And that's where I'm like, Brandon got Nynaeve in this way, right? He's really able to nail this character who can walk into this trap, head held up high, not realizing that she's describing her exact behavior until it's pointed out to her, right? That's the kind of person that Nynaeve is. And that's also the kind of person that Matt is. And that's where he misses Matt for me, is he gets it with Nynaeve and he misses it with Matt.
Yeah. And as much as I say, Nynaeve's a hypocrite and we love that about her, also she is displaying here the thing that I find far too lacking in the real world, which is internal consistency. When she is shown through logic the error of her ways and realizes she's been caught, she changes her behavior. Instead of doubling down and being an asshole because she can't ever be wrong, she goes, wow, I was wrong. and moves forward with growth as a person. And that's all I want from anyone. It's just to have the capacity to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have me kneeling on the ground and kissing your ring. And?
Yeah.
Would you have done it for another Airmelin? Not happily, but you'd have done it.
Yeah. It's the station. It's not me, which, is a very important distinction. And then she's also, looking at Nynaeve like, you're one of the few people who can see me as something other than the station. Please stay in my inner circle. I need people who don't only see the station, but you have to be able to see the station sometimes.
In public.
Yeah. You have to be able to, like Matt, completely be okay with bowing to me when there's an audience of people who don't want to bow to me. Like, you need to not have that be a personal ego issue, please.
And then sort of, you can start by calling me mother. Yes, mother.
But then it's like ways to motivate Nynaeve better than a competition. So it's like, can you do it? Can you do it?
Can you do it? Can you do better than the women who treated you poorly when you became wisdom? That's who she's competing with, is those women.
Can you do better than Days Conger at accepting my authority?
It's like, yes, fine.
Exactly. I love her. And then not Elaine arrives.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elaine arrives. But first, not Elaine arrives.
Not Elaine. Suddenly, a tinkling bell rang in Egwene's mind. She'd almost forgotten her words. I think Elaine has arrived. Nope, that's not Elaine. That's a dark friend.
Talva, I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is the one that dies rather than Alviarin. It could be Alviarin.
Could be Alviarin. Could be, yeah. But one of those two.
I'm assuming it's Talva.
Yeah. Or them arriving together, right?
Sure, yeah.
But once the word's tripped, it's not going to trigger again. So that's why she doesn't hear when Elaine actually arrives. She has to reset the ward. You only get one warning.
Right. So yeah, they go over there. Elaine's not there. And then suddenly Elaine is there in a white gown covered in diamonds. Someone has achieved her throne. You can tell because she's wearing all white.
Mm-hmm. Married to the crown.
Also, she's in the dream. So,
Also, probably maybe a little bit of Rand, like that glowiness from Rand and the way he's like.
Oh, she's feeling very angelic because she's in her second trimester and Rand has had veins of gold. That makes sense. I think she's in her second trimester at this point.
God, I don't fuck if I know. Timing, it's weird. She might even be in her starting her third.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Oh, no, Dr. Pants is saying, I don't know, but Fuji feels more like fifth trimester at this point. You're not wrong.
There's a Wheel of Time FAQ. How far along is Elaine's pregnancy? Elaine's babies were conceived in February 17th in A Winter's Heart, Chapter 12. Elaine's due date is about November 10th, but twins are often born earlier. She had her first medical examination March 8th in Crossroads of Twilight when she was about 9 or 10 weeks pregnant, right? 7 to 8 since conception.
I guess, yeah, they were all on her ass about it early because they knew that she got pregnant because of Min's visions. There was no question of if she was pregnant or not.
At the beginning of June 1000, Elaine would be 17 real works pregnant, 4 months.
I have no idea what month we're at in this chapter.
Right. I'm trying to think. I know there is this calendar. I can never actually find it when I'm looking for it. I keep meaning to bookmark it, and I never do. We're in spring, right? We've come past Winter's Heart. Spring happened, and they're conceived in February, right?
Yeah, we're in spring at this point. I have no idea what month we're in, but we've had discussions about roads being muddy because it's spring.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
Yeah, that puts her at being solidly in the second trimester. And Nynaeve has to double take to know that she's pregnant, right?
Okay.
She looks at Elaine and then looks at her again and goes, wait a second, you're pregnant. Which is she's showing, but she's not showing hugely.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And that does make sense that spring is, you're talking April, May maybe. And so then.
Yeah, because April is equinox.
So yeah, she's just, you're right. She's still very early on in the pregnancy.
But second trimester is when the glow gets really glowy. So with veins of gold, winning the throne, second trimester. Yeah, she's floating on cloud 9. No wonder she's dressed all in white with freaking diamonds dripping off of her in Teleron Riyadh. And Elaine is very, very happy when she shows up because, this is the first time she's seen Egwene since the healing of the tower. And, so it's a whole bunch of, oh my God, you fixed the tower! Ah! as one does.
There's the next little bit is kind of, I'm having a little trouble framing how I want to talk about it because it's a little all over the place. There's a lot of catching up, talking about Rand, talking about, she suspects that Elaine has bonded Rand. It's funny she didn't tell her straight out.
She's not telling anyone, though.
No. But then she says he's awakened. He's warm now, right? Like, okay, you're not hiding it, girl. Right?
Yeah, that was a really unsubtle comment if you wanted to keep that a secret. Like, you're claiming that you have psychic connections to him that aren't magical? What are you doing?
Then they talk about the seals and they're crumbling, and she says, he's going to break the seals. Very alarming. And Nynaeve's like, maybe you're right. And Elaine's looking troubled. And Egwene's like, why aren't you freaking out about this?
Which it totally makes sense to me that Elaine, as a tinkerer and an engineer, is like, well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to clear away the rubble to begin new. I mean, that makes sense just practically. Because Elaine's a tinkerer. She's an engineer. Why would she not want to get rid of the stupid old seals? And then Nynaeve, I mean, yeah, maybe it's a bit of she's hanging out with Rand, so she's affected by his Taviran nature, or more it's just the idea of trying to hold crumbling Swiss cheese together it's a fool's errand. You should maybe let the savior of the world dictate what we do to bring about the salvation of the world.
And Nynaeve's 100% on point. The Dark One will be freed when the final seal crumbles. Best if it happens when Rand is there to battle him. Which is exactly, when the light appears, right? That's when Rand is ready to face the Dark One. And that's when the seals are broken. That's exactly the reasoning that he's using.
Yeah, it's actually very important that the timing be done correctly. That's why you need a watcher of the seals. It's not just to watch them for 3,000 years. It's to watch the clock for the moment to break them.
Because the seals are imperfect. They always have been. You have to remake the Dark One's prison.
Yeah, the Dark One's prison is not meant to be perpetually patched. The patch has to dissolve and go away because cyclical time.
And the patch is made from Sidene, the male half of the source.
Right, because they were the only ones that did the sealing. Yeah.
And I think we see Rand has access to something else, right? We see later the pure light that surrounds the taint. Yeah. I think he has access to the source, not just to the true power. Or the one power.
Creator power.
We'll talk about that when we get there. Yeah. The power of reality, right? Like the thing that lets him weave reality. There's been a few times where he's woven power specifically in the books where they don't say which version. Part of that might be his own ignorance, but like there's a couple of moments where he's reached out and grabbed power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, threaded through that conversation is another conversation about bringing Elaine and Nynaeve back to the tower to be raised as Aes Sedai properly. These things are all kind of mashed together, but, topically speaking, there's two different conversations happening.
And bringing back Elaine's like, I'm pregnant. Like, you can't make me swear the oaths, right? If we don't know, like, am I binding my children to that? Like, that's not okay.
Right. Like, can they even survive being bound? Like, yeah, that's very sketchy. And she can't channel consistently, so it's completely off the table for her to take the test until after she's recovered from giving birth. Yeah. So it's just like, I can't do that anytime soon, but I will do it, but not until 6 more months. After the last battle. Like, yeah. She literally is not going to be able to get raised until after the last battle. And then Nynaeve says, fuck it, I can do it. Because she's been studying the 100 Weaves with Daigion, right? Like, that was a little cat swing,
if you remember that. Yeah.
Butter on the cat's paws situation. Like, just get out of my hair has turned into Nynaeve is just ready to do the 100 Weaves of the test, more or less at the drop of a hat.
That's back when they were hanging out near Domon, The Gathering Storm, Chapter 7, if you want to reference that.
And that really helps Egwene out, right? Having at least one of her raised by decree Aes Sedai come back and take the test properly does help with her legitimacy. Even though, as we will see when we get there, it is one of the hardest tests that has ever been administered to a prospective Aes Sedai in the history of the Tower. It's very vindictive and mean and terrible. Doesn't seem necessary for Egwene's political career, but nonetheless, the fact that Nynaeve is willing to do so is helpful to her political career.
Sure.
That's how Egwene sees it. I trust her.
No, I get it. Like, the only reason they didn't go through the test is because the tower was divided, right? So it's time to go through the test, right? Like, that's just, unfortunately, part of it. Now, do I think she should change the policy around the oaths? Am I happy that they keep the 3 oaths? No. I'm glad they sort of temper it a little bit with the kin, but I still think the 3 oaths are just not necessary for the White Tower. They didn't prevent the Black Ajah. They need to be updated or changed, or something needs to be done with the oaths.
Something. And then there's the thing where Egwene says she has no intention of going through the test herself because it's the law that she's already Aes Sedai. I dislike this interpretation of what should be done. Egwene had no intention of going through the testing herself and didn't need to. The law was specific. By being made Amerlin, she had become Aes Sedai.
No, I mean, I get it. I get it where she feels like because the law says so, I don't have to do it. But it's like, you're going to make Nynaeve do it and you're not going to do it? Like, come on.
Well, and to me, it's more like, dude, you're going to be in charge of this institution without going through one of the most important gauntlets that every other woman in the entire institution has had to go through. Like, yeah, you've been through some shit and you will go through some more shit before this is done. But this, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some sort of weird like power dynamic with like she can't be at the mercy of women who are going to be her subordinates, like for the duration of the testing. Like, it feels like such a cop-out, and Egwene is such a tryhard that I don't understand why she's doing a cop-out. Like, that's, I think, what bothers me is that Egwene is an extra credit girly, and this is her loopholing her way out of required work. It just doesn't feel in character.
It feels more like I don't want to write that. I don't want to write 2 testing scenes.
To which I say, then do a cut to black. It's not that hard. Robert Jordan did it.
Yeah, just to show her like shaken up afterwards a little bit.
Yeah, we didn't get to see Elaine's test. I mean, for accepted, like you can skip it, but have her have the growth. I don't know. I just, it's not that it's a bad choice. It's that it feels out of character to Egwene, I guess, is more what bothers me.
I would like to see her, maybe if she had said, and I will do it after the last battle, after the danger is done, I will confirm that I can do the test, right? Like, and then she dies and she never gets to do it, fine, right? If that's how you wanted to play it, fine. But this, I don't need to, feels out of character to me.
Yeah, this is a woman who has never let extra credit go unclaimed. And you're telling me that she let that go unclaimed? I think not.
So then she asks Elaine to make more Dream Terran Grial because the rest were stolen by Shiriam.
Right. Which they didn't know Shiriam was a dark. There's just like so much catching up news that's getting like yada yada by Egwene.
So there's definitely like that moment of like, oh yeah, I didn't tell you about that. So hold on, catch up. And then, well, she starts to tell the story, I guess I should say, because she doesn't get very far before the word goes off again.
Right. Yeah. They barely get into the conversation. And then Egwene starts doing some really Brandon Sanderson OP flippy Talleyrand Riyadh stuff where she doesn't even think to move. She just moves like faster than thought. And it's very cool. I mean, I enjoy it, but it is so Brandon Sanderson.
But yeah, so she comes face to face with one dark friend.
Is this a fan insert or does Talva have a pre-existing existence in the book?
Ooh, I found 2 other ones, but I did not look at Talva. I don't see any reference, but this is her only appearance.
And she dies horribly.
Yeah.
I guess not every single one.
She might be part of the group that fled. She might be one of those names.
No, it says so right here. She was one of the Black Sisters who had fled the tower. Oh, okay. Never mind. My reading comprehension is crap.
But she is not mentioned in the list. She is... This is still her first mention, even though they're putting her in that group.
We never got a complete list before?
I don't think we ever did.
That seems like a weird oversight, Mr. RJ. Maybe he was leaving himself room to insert other named characters later, and he just wanted those blanks as, like, literal foreshadowing potential.
Yeah, I can't find the specific list of the 13. I can find lists of all the Black Ajahs that we know of, but it would take a minute to go through that and count which 13 actually fled the tower.
Now, it would make sense to me that Robert Jordan left some of them unnamed just so that way he could create loopbacks later. And then Sanderson was like, oh, interesting. Slack. I'll use that.
Because I know we have some of them, because they went through all the possessions, but I feel like they were like, they'd go through 5 or 6 of the people's possessions and then be like, oh, we went through the rest of them.
Yeah.
And like we wouldn't get the full list of Aes Sedai. But I could be totally wrong. I could go back to those chapters, but
whatever.
That's a long time ago in real time since we've done those chapters.
Yeah, no, I totally imagine Robert Jordan being like, nah, I'm going to need to name someone later, and I don't know who it's going to be, so I'm just going to leave a few blank. So yeah, anyway, Egwene finds this woman, Talva. They begin to have an exchange, and then Alviarin shows up, and Egwene manages to do the thing where she dodges out of the way, and the enemies shoot each other. Well, one shoots the one. And Talva dies in a burning ball of fire, and Alviarin gets away. And Egwene is very annoyed about the entire exchange and starts thinking about weaves versus Tel'aran'rhiod manipulation and the relative speed of those things, and hinting that this is all going to be very, very relevant in a subsequent experience. We're going to be really leaning into it's just a weave, right? Like this is some foreshadowing for when Perrin says it's just a weave. Like, no, really, Egwene, everything is just a weave. That's it. Like the power of Tel'aran'rhiod is so much greater than the power of the One Power, because it is the only constant in the universe aside from the Creator and the Dark One. Boom.
Right. But you could argue that the One Power is a manifestation of the Creator in the way that the True Power is a manifestation of the Dark One. And so they are in some ways equal in power.
Nah, they're emergent properties. They're attenuated.
I did like this little bit, like right as Alviarin disappears, Egwene goes, "Burn her!" I'm like, that woman is literally burning alive behind you.
Yeah, poor choice of words, Egwene.
Yeah, I was like really,
insensitive
Egwene?
to the
Really?
woman burning to death behind you.
All right, yeah.
That's dark.
But yeah, this is sort of the beginning of the end of the 13. I feel like they slowly, Sanderson kills off the 13 in battle, one by one, until there's really none of them left. Even though there's a bunch of other Dark Friends out there who die in all sorts of ways. I feel like he really sort of wants to conclude that plot line that the girls went off to hunt the 13, and that's sort of what sent them out of the tower in the first place. And he's like, all right, I'm going to finish those girls off. And, this is one of the first ones, I think, that really just gets... And a lot of them get burnt alive.
Fire is a very effective weapon, unfortunately.
It really is.
And yeah, neither of these authors is shy about just immolating an entire character in one fell swoop.
And yeah, so Talva is the first, I think.
She's certainly the first of the cat and mouse Tel'aran'rhiod tower game that is being initiated. This is kind of the first round. I mean, really at the end of this chapter, right, Egwene says, okay, I got preparations to make. Those preparations are what lead up to the big battle in the tower, but also a lot of smaller interactions where women die, and it's a whole long cat and mouse in Tel'aran'rhiod that takes many, many nights, and this is the first contact of that.
And is also the place where Perrin's storyline intersects theirs, because he brings the Dream Spike to the White Tower, which then prevents the bad guys from fleeing, which sets up the whole confrontation and changes the stakes and makes it possible for Egwene to win, really.
Yeah, Messana's entire plan hinged on getting the Aes Sedai to chase her out of the tower. When Perrin shows up with the Dream Spike, everything that she planned goes to shit.
And then I love this line by Nynaeve. Walking into traps is hardly the best way to defeat the mother, Nynaeve said flatly. Both because of past and present and future incidents.
That is the thing you Supergirls do, is you walk into traps.
Over and over. Like, really, Nynaeve? That's like all you've done. Tanchico and
That's what these three women specialize in, is walking into traps. Like these three women in particular, as a three-member team of walk into traps and see what happens next.
Mm-hmm. And then Egwene, depends on your preparation, because that is really if you're prepared, it's less likely to be disastrous for you.
And they always think they're prepared. They always say, well, if I know I'm walking into a trap, then it will be fine. And then it's, one Matt Trimcothen later, it's fine. Right. But,
one Gawain later for Egwene.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of men pulling them out of traps that they get themselves into.
Well, in this instance, I guess the men are the smart ones, because they were not inside the trap, and thus they were able to be on the outside of said trap.
They see a flutter of black cloth ducking around the corner. Do you think that's Messana? Do you think it's Alviarin? Do you think it's...
I bet it's Messana. I bet she was spying on how Alviarin handled the situation, as Alviarin was spying on how Talva handled the situation. It's one of those strings upon strings.
Is it possible that the first bell being run was actually Messana?
Nah, Messana's too good for that. Too good at it.
Maybe.
Nah, no, that's not true. If it was Lanfear. But yeah, no, it might have been. Or it might have been all three of them arriving and going to their respective corners.
I kind of see Masana spying first and then the other ones showing up and attacking immediately, and Masana watching the whole thing from the shadows.
Yeah, because she knows that Egwene is her big prize, right? That's the big target. So like these two Amerlins are, studying each other effectively, right? As we learn in the next chapter, it's the whole she's the Shadows Amerlin. Like they both study and prepare and watch and think. This is how they both operate. So yeah, I totally bet she's spying on all of this. And so yeah, then Egwene says, I'm gonna find you, but not right now. And then they head off to the magical meadow of butterflies to finish catch up, which we don't have to see on page. And thus we cut to the next day, the next chapter.
Right. Now Nynaeve is awake after that meeting.
Yeah, this is the next morning, right? Because she says, okay, I'll come ASAP. Egwene says you have to come tonight or tomorrow. And Nynaeve says, all right, okay, cool. So here we are. Next day, she's doing her stuff. This is chapter 15 called Use a Pebble. And the symbol is the torn lace of the ages, right? The bubble of evil symbol, for lack of a better term.
The torn pattern.
Yeah. And this is Nynaeve and Nafe, who is the Ashaman with the paranoid fantasies of Fades just following them but never doing anything. And they are inspecting a bubble of evil where everything has turned to the most flammable powder you've ever experienced.
Just any fine powder, right? With that much surface area.
That's the thing, is it's so fine. This is like, so in geology, particles sizes, sand is actually a particle and clay is actually a particle. That's not a mineral composition, that is a size thing. This makes clay look ginormous, okay? Clay particles are the smallest particles you can have. They're itsy bitsy little flat things that make things like mudstone, right?
Remember, kids, size matters.
Yeah. It really does in this case. The surface area flammability thing, it doesn't matter what it is if it's this fine.
Well, especially when it comes to physics, right? Like when you look at things at different scales, different physics actually does apply. Especially when you go like atomic, subatomic, right? Like there's different scales at which different equations and different forces are much more important than others.
One of the frustrating things about our reality is that physics changes depending on scale. It's very annoying, but it is real as far as we can tell. Until we make better physics, which, people are currently burning themselves out trying to make better physics. They haven't done it yet.
But the fact that like temperature is an emergent phenomenon of vibrating molecules, and it's like, what? How can temperature not be real? But in a lot of ways, it's just an emergent phenomenon, and it turns out if you go all the way down, it's just like, oh, we're all just an emergent phenomenon of vibrating fucking strings. Okay, great.
Yeah, you think about it long enough and then someone comes along and says, do you know that like consciousness is just an emergent property of vibrating strings? And you're like, well, I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Sure.
Probably.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. We haven't proven it yet, but we think that's our best theory right now.
Right, exactly. Like we're out in some really weird weeds at this point.
And then when you're like, oh yeah, Robert Jordan knew string theory, he called it the pattern.
Yeah. We're not really stretching here. Robert Jordan was a literal string theory interested, physics knowing person.
Right.
Yes, exactly, light-blinded fool. Science has finally arrived at the realization that it is just vibes, man.
Well, I mean, you want to really piss off a physicist, ask him, can you tell me what a wave function represents, please, sir?
And then duck. Yeah. All right, so Nynaeve and Nafe. Nynaeve thinks about how Nafe is not getting worse in the aftermath of the taint being cleansed, but he's not getting better either. This was one of the questions Rand and others had going into the cleansing, and here we are seeing the answer. That the scars remain, the damage remains. That doesn't go away.
The damage was done. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. I also noticed that her storm sense, like she's feeling the last battle to the north.
Yeah, she's, frustrated by having to obey Egwene because she just wants to go north and do the land stuff. But, this is what she's got to do.
And they're being summoned to this bubble of evil, right? So they're walking, and she's kind of like, I wish I could gateway. It's
right.
Like, spoiled Nynaeve.
And then she thinks, kids these days have it too easy with gateways. Our own feet aren't good enough for us. So, embodying contradiction, as
Uh-huh.
she is wont to do.
She's like, Rand said he was going to fetch something. What is he fetching? Is it Kalendor?
Must be, because he had Cadswain squirrel it away somewhere, I think. I don't know. What would he be fetching?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you notice it wasn't taken.
Or is it the seals that he thinks he has? Remember, he thinks he has some of the seals, and then they learn later that they were swapped. Maybe this was him going to get those seals that he hands to people.
A lot of research in this chapter. Sorry, we keep pausing to do research, but we keep hitting questions. Yeah, sorry. It's either Kalendor or the seals. I can't find any evidence for either one.
Huh.
There's also the seed that he gives to Elaine.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just not sure what of the many things that he has in his possession he went to fetch really quick.
Rand has an undramatic experience of getting one of the many, many objects that he needs to collect. I guess. Ta-da. Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. Sorry. He said he needed to fetch something, and this is where he's like doing a bunch of things, but
Don't apologize for being a nerd. It's just sometimes there's nothing to that. There's no answer.
All right, so they get to the beige section of the city.
Yeah, which seems to be a perfect circle, right? They say that they find people who just had like a toe into the circumference of the thing, and they're dead too, right? Like most of the scene we see is her walking through the middle of it where everything is destroyed, but apparently all along the edge there's people who have been hurt and buildings that have been partially damaged by this. It's not like it was building specific. It's like just an area of effect.
Mm-hmm. It's like everything was changed to a very specific one material, right? Everything was transformed into whatever it is, into a talcum powder or something, it's
almost like a broken earth sort of transformation. Like when they turn that whole city into stone all at once. It's kind of like that, except this is not solid stone. This is the finest, powderiest stone you could ever have come across. And they, collect it into a pile and set it on fire, and it's not a big deal. But clearly the bubble of evil was supposed to be twofold, right? It was supposed to be first everyone dies, and then essentially a bomb goes off in the middle of the city when like someone's cigar spark like drifts on the wind into the zone and just sets the whole 5 blocks off. It would have been like an explosion to have all of that stuff light up at once while spread out.
Well, that's what I wonder is like, because they condensed it, I would have think it would have been more of an explosion when it all went off at once, as opposed to when it spread out. Like you're gonna have more of a slow burn because it takes a while for the fire to spread.
I was assuming it was like when flour's in the air. The fact that it's spread out makes for a more concussive experience. Like if you just light a pile of flour on fire, it doesn't explode.
I guess that's true. Yeah. That maybe there wasn't enough oxygen when they condensed it down that prevented it from really exploding. Yeah.
Right. That's what I imagine is that really what's happening here is there's a lot of air in the particles, and that's what would make the fire would have roared outward and caught regular buildings on fire in all directions, and then you would have had the city on fire.
That's kind of what I pictured, is like if any of this caught on fire, it would just create a conflagration around its border, right? It would all spread out, and like there'd be this ring of fire where everything would catch on fire on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'd just be going along, and then a man taps out the dottle from his pipe, and suddenly the whole building is on fire, like in just a few seconds. Just like where did all that fire come from? And it comes from this. But no, instead they condensed it into a little thing, and yeah, it's a really bright flame, but it's not along the edge of 5 city blocks.
Well, and this is an incredibly creepy scene, right? Crunching along through everything that used to be alive and everything just disintegrating, right? Like that, the horror of like they see children playing. It's everything. Imagine everyone's life within a 2-block radius, 4-block square, just ends. It's pretty horrific.
It's like Pompeii, right? It's that sort of like seeing the cast from Pompeii, but even faster. And then, yeah, the eeriness of she steps on the solid stone of the street and the stone crumbles and her foot doesn't stop until she touches the bare earth. And then that turns into Nafe, like almost walking into a cellar. And then when they clear the area, it's just this bare ground with these like weird pockmarked holes in it. Like even the stones of everything that a human ever touched, anything that had any amount of human intention in it, gone. Just gone. So creepy. And the visual of her walking through, up to her knees, up to her hips in the building, because you can't walk up into the building like you should. You're just pushing through these ghost floorboards. It's just so eerie. It's so post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, and once they cleared out, there's no foundations. All that's left is these holes in the ground where cellars used to be. And it's just like, in the middle of the city, someone just scooped a hole and picked everybody out. Everything that wasn't Earth just got removed.
Like down to the last scraps of like trash that had been kicked under the house and not looked for in 50 years. That's gone too. Cat skeletons from that cat that like you never found, right? Like all of it's gone. The dead rats in the attic, everything. That one innkeeper that vanished mysteriously and then his wife took over the business. No evidence of that crime left. It's all gone.
Mm-hmm. And so I think what that basically does to Nynaeve is it gets her frustration up a little bit, right? She's like, God damn it, I couldn't help any of these people. They're all dead before I even got there. I can't heal death. Well, God damn it, I'm going to help heal Naif because I'm sick of this madness stuff, right? And so that frustration, I think, with her inability to solve the problem of the bubble of evil is what spurs her to take another shot at healing the madness in Naif.
It's exactly how she healed Logain. She was so pissed off at the Aes Sedai trying to fix her block and dealing with Moghedien being a prisoner, and just everything sucked. And she was so mad that she just fixed stilling.
Yeah.
So same deal here. She's mad that she can't fix the world, so she cures cancer. She just cures cancer. It's fine.
And it's sort of interesting that like her ability to cure has always been unquestionable, but it's her ability to delve that's been refined over time. The ability to find smaller and smaller things. Again, we were just talking about the level of scale, right? She's able to look at a finer scale and find things that work differently, right? Instead of just a blob of madness, she looks at the little hooks that dig into the brain and she can see where those hooks are so she can get to them. And the way she can pry those hooks away is different than just trying to negate the whole compulsion at once.
Yeah, and I love it both in an in-world and at a meta level, because this is, again, very Sanderson, right? Very like, ooh, we can zoom in. We can make higher fidelity magic rules. We've upgraded our writing skills. But also, Nynaeve's been studying with Aes Sedai. She's been getting Yellows to teach her, even though they don't really want to. Like, again, we're seeing actual growth because, yeah, and it's also nice, just the idea that, yeah, raw power is important and skill is important, right? Oftentimes in this world, magic allows people to skip skill, but it makes sense that medicine would be one of the exceptions to that. And no, you actually do need to study in order to get the data you need to use your great power with the skill and dexterity necessary.
And in a lot of ways, this isn't just a healing, right? She heals the little spots where the hook was in the brain, right? Even though, I don't know, brains don't really heal, but whatever. But she's also fighting this thing, right? She's using raw power to hold it in place, like a slippery little bastard, right? This is the enemy. It's a piece of the enemy. And so she has to hold it in place while she also removes the spikes and heals.
It's a very complicated procedure. It's not just a one and done hit it with power. There's an order of operations, and you can't unlock certain things until you've completed other steps. And yeah, the whole healing the brain, there's definitely some blurring of the metaphysical and the physical in that. But honestly, that's kind of how good channeling scenes have always been. It's like you can't quite tell what is just happening in their like theater of mind versus what's literally happening to the patient. It's kind of a fun part of healing. Yeah, she manages to use lessons learned while lobotomizing Curb to not lobotomize Naif, right? She literally kind of sort of risks lobotomizing him because she's so pissed. She doesn't even ask his consent. But it works. The compulsion from the Dark One is different than compulsion from Grandal in that it doesn't leave you scrambled at the end. Also, I wonder if she could have healed Curb's brain.
Doing it, pulling it out that way as opposed to just overlaying an anti-weave, and then it leaves all these like holes.
Gotta wonder.
Yeah. And it could also be the way something grows versus like something that's implanted.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, this isn't an installed module. This is a growth.
But you could also think of it as like oh, you put your drywall anchors in the brain, and if you just yank that out, you're pulling out like all the brain with it, right? Because it's anchored in there. But if you carefully take out every one and then patch it, you can actually get away without destroying the brain.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Nynaeve does not ask for consent very frequently when she's doing her healings.
Yeah.
She's just, come here and let me do it. It's best for you.
Yeah, just because she knows that she means well doesn't mean that the patient knows. And yeah, it's the assumption of benevolence is, yeah, I could do with the healer having slightly more awareness of consent. That would have been nice.
It's the motherly instinct. Mm-hmm. The dark patch undulated and shook like something alive. Then it vanished. Where did it go? Back to the dark one?
I would assume so, yeah. Like a little gust of self that gets returned.
Did it just like dissipate into the air so there's a little more taint, like radiation in the environment?
It was like a matter-antimatter interaction where like the power she put into it like perfectly matched and negated the absence. Because I mean that's what the dark one is, right? Is entropy and absence. So if she puts the precise amount of power into it, maybe it just poofs away.
I think more it's detached from its anchor point, and it's just like, I think it just slithers back to the dark one, basically.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. Slithers.
It's got some attachment to him, yeah. Fades back, goes through the metaphysical Teleron Riyadh back to the dark one into his prison, right? Like,
yeah.
If you can think of, again, the dark one, you can think of him a bit of as a black hole, right? And so he's got this gravitational pull.
So they just cross back over the event horizon back into the black hole.
Yeah, basically.
And then she has this great thought, because Nafe is very happy. And then Nynaeve's like, I can't let myself begin to think that nothing I do matters. That's what the Dark One wants. Which, yeah, don't give up prematurely in the face of creeping evil. That is what they want. That is what the Dark One wants. That is what the forces that are trying to ruin your entire existence want, is for you to give up prematurely so they don't actually have to fight you. That's what the evil guys always want. So don't do it.
And that's what Rand overcame with Veins of Gold.
Right, exactly. We might have to fight again, but we also can love again. So it's worth it.
So Rand returns with 2 Maidens of the Spear, Soma and Kanara.
Are these the fan inserts you found, you referenced?
These are fan inserts I found. Yeah, these are both fans. Let's see. Soma is named for Lisa Somerfield, a fan of the Wheel of Time. And Kanara is named for Karen Clark, a fan of the Wheel of Time.
Fantastic. I like now just every time there's like Aiel guards that get a name that we don't recognize, I'm like, a fan got to be an Aiel. Allegorically, technically, in a small way. And also, I like that Nynaeve is also doing the PR humanitarian thing of like meeting with the survivors of the bubble and like talking with them. That feels like a thing that Moraine did like way back when.
Yeah.
When there was a disaster.
Yeah, even if she was just searching for information.
Yeah, like it's this rich person thing. What?
She was a little cynical about it. Yeah.
No, Nynaeve was cynical about Moraine doing it. I don't think Moraine was cynical about it.
Oh, you mean back when she was looking for Rand?
No. Like, it's not in Barrelon because they have to leave too fast. But there's an instance where she gets down and is interacting with people, and God, I cannot remember like what city was it in, who threw the firebomb. But anyway, I just think it's nice to see an Aes Sedai doing more than magic stuff, but actually interacting with the commoners and like doing the human thing, not just doing the magic god thing. The
thing that the Yellow Aja should be doing this entire time, which is being out there and healing people and outreaching, and yes.
Basically, I'm really enjoying seeing Nynaeve be a Yellow in every capacity, right? She's healing stuff because she's angry at the world. She's finding her purpose through healing. She's, just telling people that she hears them, and that was frustrating. Oh yeah, she did do that thing in Bandar Eben, yes, but it's just, it's just nice.
I like this little exchange between Rand and Nynaeve. You care for my people, thank you. I care for when you need it, as you've always done, along with caring for some who don't need it.
Like
you, she said, raising an eyebrow. No, I've always needed it. That and more.
No, I've always needed it is such a fantastic line. The teasing rapport between them, but also like, oh yeah, Rand's grown up a lot. Rand's grown up a lot. He's saying that he always needed Nynaeve. Even when she wasn't there, he needed her. That's what he's saying.
And even when he denied it, he said he always needed her.
He's like, there's never been a time I didn't need you. No matter what has happened, I actually needed you, regardless of what I thought. And it's just, oh.
And then so he's sort of being shown the bubble of evil. And he's like, oh, yep, he wants to do this to the whole world. And that's why we can't delay anymore, right? We've really gotten to this point where he's winning by slowly eroding away the fabric of the universe. He's corrupting our food. He's breaking down what location means. He's creating bubbles of evil that are killing lots of people. He is slowly wearing away our ability to fight by slowly breaking down the pattern. And if we wait too much longer, we're not going to be able to fight against him because our world is going to be in such disarray. And so I have to take the fight to him. He is perfectly fine winning by sitting up in his castle and dropping bombs on us.
Yeah, a war of attrition can be very effective if you're on the losing side. At some point, it is worth throwing everything you've got into a final assault rather than just getting nibbled to death by ducks. And like you were saying earlier, like as the Dark One's pushing harder and harder and harder to break through, the bubbles of evil are coming harder and faster, right? This is a direct representation of how long the Dark One has been pushing on the seals. And so, yeah, it does make sense to pick a date to break the seals. And I don't think it's Ta'Veren that convinces Nynaeve that Rand is right. I think it's logic and common sense.
And trusting Rand.
And
right?
trusting Rand. Because he's literally the Dragon Reborn. Maybe he knows what he's talking about.
So, and he does the thing where he's like, all right, if you're going back to the White Tower, that's fine, but don't let them ruin you, right? Like, I tried to be like them, cold and logical, but you have to care. The caring is what makes you who you are. You care about people, Nynaeve. Even if you don't necessarily care about their consent.
You care too much for him to care about consent. But yeah, no, the way he says that there are many kinds of strength. The way that the Eyes to Die hold up on a pedestal is not superior to the other kinds of strength that exist in this world. And that's a nice thing to be told after these books have gone on for 2 decades about how there's only one right way to exist. It's nice to be like, well, maybe there's a couple different right ways to exist.
Then he says, I want you by my side at Shale Ghul. I need you to help me
fight the Dark One.
Basically, fight the Dark One and use Kalendor specifically.
I trust you to not manipulate me in the bad way while having control over me in this most important of fights. I don't know who's going to be your number 2, but I know that you're going to be my number 1.
Hint, it's Moraine, because she's going to be rescued by...
Well, that's why Rand doesn't know who the second is going to be, is because the perfect candidate has yet to be rescued from the Tower of Genshai. Because obviously he would pick Moraine. Like, obviously if she was here, he would pick her without a second thought. So.
And it can't be Elaine because she's babies and pregnant and all that stuff.
Yeah. Aviendha would have worked. Aviendha is strong enough and unattached enough and good enough with hand-to-hand combat that she would have been an acceptable choice, I think.
And she's there fighting for him, defending him in that moment. She's just outside.
Yeah. She's 1 tier of 2 tiers of defenders out, because technically Tom is another tier of defender. But yeah, she is fighting in the pit of Shale Ghul to keep the entrance of the cave safe. But she would have been fine in the cave too, as far as effectiveness goes. She definitely would have been more stabby, that's for sure.
And then she delves Rand and sees the darkness in his mind. And I just want to read this. She stiffened. The darkness was enormous, covering the entirety of his mind. Thousands upon thousands of the tiny black thorns pricked into his brain. But beneath them was a brilliant white lacing of something, a white radiance like liquid power. Light given form and life. She gasped. It coated each of the dark tines, driving into his mind alongside them. What did it mean? She didn't have any idea how to begin working on this. There were so many barbs. How could he even think with that much darkness pressing against his brain? And what had created the whiteness? She'd healed Rand before and hadn't noticed it then. Of course, she'd never seen the darkness until recently. Her practice with delving was likely the reason. So it's not Saidin.
Because she can see it.
Because she can see it.
And it's not the Dark One, because that would be dumb. So yeah, the creator power, nature.
The power P, and here this liquid power, right? This radiance, this weave, this lattice of the pattern that he's using, right? And it's something we've seen him use before. It really seems to be the power directly of the creator.
the synthesized male and female existing at once to drive the wheel of the universe, like in its completed state rather than in its dynamo pieces. Yeah, exactly. It can't be Sidene or Sidar because she would identify it either as an absence or as Sidar, right? She would know if it was Sidar. No, I mean, it's logical.
And in a lot of ways, I could say, well, when did this lattice appear? Well, the lattice appears during Veins of Gold. A lattice and Veins of Gold seem like they might be related.
Oh, I assumed that this is entirely a Veins of Gold moment thing.
And what is Veins of Gold? Veins of Gold is love. So what is the power? Love.
Love is the power.
Love is the power. That's the power that he's using to, that is the true one power that drives the wheel.
Yeah. And it's not like the creator has intervened and woven a counterweave in Rand's brain against the Dark One. I don't think that his brain is literally a chessboard for two different beings. I think it's literally love. His revelation is what unlocks that. It's not like he's not just a battlefield. It's his choice. It's his revelation that makes that possible.
Yeah, but he's also keeping those connections, right? Because that gives him the knowledge of his past life. That corrupts the pattern enough to give him the unnatural ability of having the memories of a past life.
You got to yes and. You can't just shut the thing down. You have to yes and. Rules of improv apply to the end of the world.
And so I wonder, and that's where all these thorns are all throughout his brain. If she were able to remove those, would he lose Lewis Theron? Would he go back to being just Rand?
Ooh. I mean, probably. Probably. He would still maintain all of the lived experience he had talking to Lewis Theron. It wouldn't vanish. But yeah, I totally think so. I totally think if she was able to do that, he would lose Lewis Theron.
In the way that Nafe lost the Murdral in his head, and they are just an hallucination, right? Like the memories.
Though in fairness, Rand doesn't hear Lewis Theron anymore, right? He's got that whole "we're integrated now" thing.
Yes,
so,
right.
Again, he's kind of ahead of her on that.
Yeah. I mean, he's merging them together.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting question. Would he he'd have to lose something, right? Or not? Or has he fixed it? I mean, that's the thing is does the whiteness yes and, or does it negate?
Right.
That's kind of the question.
To me, it feels like it's working with the darkness.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer yes and as a answer to all situations. It's more narratively satisfying because you have to deal with it because I'm a theater kid.
Yes. And
I love too how Rand has no idea what she's healing or attempting to heal, right? Normally, he describes, her feeling it, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It's my side wounds. It's fine." She's like, "No, I wasn't even thinking about those."
Right. She's like, "I'm trying to heal your madness," and he's like, "Oh, you can heal madness?" She's like, "Well, I did it, Nafe." He's like, lead with that next time."
And it's so fun too because again, Rand has discovered his full humanity again, right? He is so excited about this because Luz Theron. Even this is something that would have impressed Luz Theron. Rand is so excited for her that she has discovered this. This is truly new information.
Well, but how much of this is a misnomer? Because even the Age of Legends, they couldn't heal diseases of the mind. And I'm like, this is a very specific corruption of the mind. This madness comes from a source, and she is removing the source. This isn't applicable to people who have actual mental illness.
True. But it's also not the first time she's healed something that people in the Age of Legends couldn't heal, right? Because they couldn't heal severing, and she did. So, not the first time that she's literally surprised an Age of Legends level person. But that is an interesting question.
I just wonder if Rand's overblowing it and being like, "Oh, you can now heal mental health disorders," and it's like, well, no, I can heal specifically the people who were affected by the taint.
This is such a Mormon way of looking at things, though. The ableism baked into Mormon theology is really overt.
Ooh, tell me more.
It's just heaven involves everyone being fixed.
Healed. Yeah.
Oh, and made white also, but we don't need to get into that part right now. Literally, people will be fixed of their physical, mental, and racial ailments and made into the perfect white beings that everyone is truly destined to be.
Oof, I did not know that was okay.
But we don't need to get deep into that. But just the ableism that is super baked into this worldview feels so Mormon. Just well, to be saved, is to be corrected to a normal functional person, and madness can be cured. Madness can be cured is a thing that has led to a lot of terrible things in this world. The idea that you can be cured of your mental illness is
That boy needs a lobotomy.
sometimes there are good things to be discovered from trying to figure out why someone's brain seems to be malfunctioning. And sometimes you end up with really statewide systemic eugenics. So, yeah. So that's a thing that always felt warm and fuzzy to me until now. You have just ruined this moment for me. I used to like this exchange between them, and now I just Nynaeve, don't be an ableist. Rand, don't be an ableist. Ugh. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
But this is I do feel though, right? Like if for some reason someone was in an accident and they got a chemical in their eye, and you could spray a neutralizer that gave them their eyesight back, right? Like no one would be like, oh no, I don't want that because I don't want to be ableist, right? Like everyone would be like, no, I want my eyesight back, right? Like
for sure.
This is like, you can't heal all blindness, but you can heal the people who were exposed to this very dangerous chemical.
Yeah. Which is super valid. We should heal people who have been damaged by industrial accidents. Those people deserve top level medical care.
And really, if you think about what the Dark One is, they were drilling for power. So he really is an industrial accident, and all the fallout from him really is just the toxic waste in order to get power.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just throw a foam onto radioactive waste and have it, just stop being radioactive, we would put a lot of money into that, for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, all that to say, is complicated, and your mileage may vary on those takes.
So I like how she's like, I might not have a chance to get to the Black Tower, but I'll heal them too. She's healed one person, right? And she's like, yeah, I'll just get the rest of the Black Tower, no problem. Narishma, everybody here, and then I don't know if I'll be able to get to the Black Tower.
Yeah, she says she'll heal the other 2 Ashaman that are there, and maybe everyone else.
And maybe everyone else, if I can get around to it. It's just like, okay, Nynaeve, maybe you should teach some people how to do this. But
yeah, go to the White Tower and teach a bunch of yellows how to do this, and then we will go to the Black Tower. That would be a much better project pitch.
And then this moment pisses me off with Rand. I will need to send someone there, but it will be handled carefully. Something's happening with them. But I have so much to do. He never fucking handles the Black Tower. He sends them a letter that says, be men, not tools.
After
everything
has been dealt with, after Logain and Andrel have completely cleaned up his mess with the help of Pavara, and that's about it, and some Two Rivers boys.
I'm like, dude, Rand, yes, you needed to send somebody. You needed to do something about this, right? Like I think he lost a lot of warriors who got turned that he didn't need to lose because he let it fester.
If he had sent someone at this point, if he had said, oh yeah, heal up those 3 Ashaman, and then this evening we're going to go to the Black Tower and start sorting stuff out, he could potentially have had a lot more people on his side instead of functioning as dreadlords. It is one of his biggest failures in Zen Rand's state. That's one of Zen Rand's biggest failures by a long shot, is just never dealing with the Black Tower. But, much like Egwene, he's dealing with too many things to do all at once. He's got a certain amount of resolution and power. He's out of the tunnel of trying to just survive another minute with himself. Now he has a million things to do, and he has to prioritize, and it's really hard.
Why do I, again, feel like this is Sanderson talking to us on a meta level, being like, I can't include all your favorite things. There's too much to do. I have to get to the last battle.
I do feel like he's looking at us straight in the eyes saying, I can't do it all.
Everything's crumbling. It's falling apart. I might as well, I have to pull the trigger at some point while we're still strong and I can still write this book.
Yeah. And then, she takes off to go to the White Tower to get more Aes Sedai-like, and also traumatized. And we return to the White Tower and Egwene. Though we're in the real world now. We're not in the dream world. We are in the physical waking world.
Yeah, I would assume this is also the next morning, so kind of the same time.
Yeah, same day. Yeah. Yeah, she's mid-meeting when we join her.
And so things are going stale again. Rand's been away long enough that the Dark One's influence is creeping back in. And she thinks the land is one with the dragon, right? How many times have I said that? It's always funny to see someone. Oh, yeah. Egwene's thinking that when she's thinking about the food corrupting, right? Like, that is what's going on.
Because Sanderson wants us to know that he knows that, yeah, we know that he's a fan. Yeah.
I like the way you said that.
And then, yeah, she goes back into the meeting, which is the meeting where the Black Aja hunters have turned their energy to figuring out how Masana is still in the tower. And Siain is reporting on the ways that one might subvert the oath rod. We go through 3 different methods, which are interesting. I don't know if you want to go through them in detail, but the upshot is that if you can find 3 methods, that means that she found a way to defeat it. You don't have to determine which method she used. The point is there are ways to defeat the oath rod. That is empirically true. She figured it out. Move on to the next problem.
And I think we have a word to Brandon that one of those 3 is the way she used. They guessed correctly one of the methods. I think it's the one where she altered her voice. So she said, I will do whatever I want.
I agree. That seems like the simplest with the mechanics of the world as we understand them. You set those weaves, you tie them off in your room, all of that good stuff. You go to the meeting. Done.
Maybe later you sneak back in, grab the oath rod and and take the oath off of yourself.
I think you just swear to continue enjoying to eat blue cheese on crackers.
But there is an effect of having an oath on you, right? There is that shortened lifespan.
Oh, that's true.
Tightening, right? Like
That's
all
true.
of that stuff.
But apparently it's easy to steal, so. No, that's a really good point, that the lifespan thing, she would want to release herself even from a frivolous oath.
But what? Okay. You can either send a lookalike to take the oath, right? Or someone under compulsion, so they could swear that they weren't a dark friend. Okay, whatever. Or if she just has another oath rod, right? Like, because they're not sure. Again, it's plausible, but nobody knows for sure if one oath rod could take off the oath of the other. Remember, that was the whole problem with Galena, right? Is that she couldn't flee because she wasn't sure if you could remove one oath rod taken by the other. Because they've only ever had the one oath rod, right? So, right. And they barely knew that oath rod, they are only finding out, the non-dark friends are only finding out now that oath rod can take off the oaths. That was not something that was widely known until Egwene made them do it all.
But the voice weave is the easiest one to imagine. And then, yeah, just sneak in and unswear
Totally.
it. And then we get the title of the chapter. The chapter is titled Use a Pebble. And this is wisdom from Marin Alvear, Egwene's mom. Never use a boulder when a pebble will do. This is Egwene realizing she's overcomplicated the problem. She thought it would be hard for someone to defeat the oath rod. Turns out it's easy. She was assuming it would need a boulder when it turns out, no, pebble's fine. All you needed was a pebble. You can
do literally a magic trick, right, to fool them rather than using the one power to defeat the oath rod, right?
Yeah, you don't defeat the oath rod. You just find a loophole.
Yeah. It's just a weave, right? She's really
exactly.
This mind, the power is not the be all end all of things. You can get around it in a lot of ways.
This is the blind spot that the Amerlin seat is going to have, because she is the institution of women who use the one power academically.
So they get some information about Masana, right? Like some backstory that more than we get for most Forsaken. I'm not sure how much of this we knew before this scene.
I think we knew most of it, because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this information has been included in,
like, the companion and stuff. Yeah.
like the source. Yeah, exactly. The other source book type stuff that goes along. I'm pretty sure that we knew most of their backstories by now. But yes, this is another one of those instances of we need to make the bad guys less of myths and more of people. So let's just put the myths together and try to like determine facts from it.
And it's basically she didn't get tenure. She went and got her PhD and did not get tenure and went to the evil side. But then they stuck her in a library anyway, and she's pissed about it.
The way Egwene describes her is an administrator who hates being relegated to that role. Like, you're good at this, so you will never get to do anything you want to do because you're good at this, and no one wants to do it, so we're going to make you do it. Even in the evil side, it keeps happening to her.
She wished to be a researcher, but was rejected.
Yep.
A lot of people who can't have rejection in the Forsaken.
I mean, I feel like rejection, sensitivity, ridiculousness, and selfishness are probably wound together. That whole, like, they have to be selfish. Like, being unable to handle anyone not respecting them in every particular would go along with selfishness, right?
I think so, yeah. Oh, and about the shortened lifespan. So I think the Forsaken are immortal in the way that if they die, they get a new body, not immortal in the way that they don't age ever. I think their age is slowed because they're channelers, but I think the whole, like, Forsaken can never die is just like, oh, well, then if you die, the Dark One will just make you a new body. Or if you get too old, you can, like, he'll just put you in a new body. But, like, that's not you live forever. That's he controls death and can pop your soul into a new body, and you start over again.
It has a lot to do with healing too, right? For some reason, evil powers can always max out your cellular life.
Yeah, and we did see Agenor reverse age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from sucking on that pure male power. That pure male power. He was just sucking on it. Phrasing. Okay.
Speaking of, right, access to the pure power that was on Rand's brain, right? Maybe part of the reason the Eye of the World had to be there is to prime him for being to channel this, like, pure one power thing that exists outside. I've heard a lot of people speculate that. I don't necessarily think so. I think it was just a well of power to use to defeat the army that would have otherwise destroyed Randland.
Right, that's what I think, but that's an interesting theory.
But yeah, I've heard the theory that, like, it was a primer to get him ready to fight the last battle, that he needed that sort of, like, kick up in skill level and to experience what channeling the true power, like the true one power. God, the way he overloaded that. Yeah, the one true power. Oh my God, the way that's such an overloaded term. Yeah.
So with respect to Masana, the other really interesting thing about her is that in addition to being a failed researcher and a relegated administrator, she is a general who is capable of getting down in the mud and showing the soldiers what to do. She is actually someone who will fight directly in a way that Grandal will always flee. Right? Masana will actually at some point choose to stand and fight, and that will be her undoing in a little bit.
Even though we've never seen that from her.
No, but that's part of the lore of who people think of, or like what we know of her through the histories. We haven't seen that, but no, honestly, we kind of have, because she has been very dogged in every mission she's set herself to, right? She hasn't left the White Tower despite the fact that the coup happened, or the reverse coup happened, right? But she's locked onto it. She's just absolutely, she does not switch missions when it gets hard. She digs in harder. And that's very Egwene-like.
And she has been successful, right? She's broken the White Tower. It has remained broken for a long time. It has been corrupted on both sides with a dark friend, right behind the Amerlin. She nearly brought them to battle multiple times. She was essentially crippling them. And like, if you look at what happened in the White Tower and the way Elida banished a bunch of them, and then the way they're invaded, like the countdown to the number of actual Aes Sedai left in the tower was like 200 or something, maybe less, right? Like, it's just crazy if you think about the White Tower, as they talk about it being empty when there were 3,000 people inside of it. And so, the institution that must have been 10, maybe, 20, 30,000 people living in there at one time is reduced to a couple hundred.
And then the other really interesting thing that we get from the lore is that Masana was second only to Demon Dread in sheer anger, which I think is a very interesting observation. Demon Dread obviously being just, come at me, bro, for the entire last battle, until 3 successive men managed to kill him. And it, they even point out here, because Egwene says, well, I thought they were all hateful. And, Siain has to say, or Saren has to say, no, not hate, anger. And, really making you, the reader, think about the difference between those two things and how that exists. There is nuance even within evil, right? Evil is not one monolithic thing. There's many facets.
Because I'd say jealousy also, right? There's hate, there's anger, there's jealousy, right? All of those are different characteristics that made people, especially the men, turn to the Dark One.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting that the thwarted academic who's good at administration but doesn't like it is the angry one. I just think that's so interesting and almost relatable. Like, if I was going to be evil, I feel like my uppermost emotion I would be like leading with to take me through my evil path would be anger. Like, that would be how I would drive my evil direction. So, and I've always liked Masana as in terms of being like, yeah, she's the bookish one who just will not let go of her mission. I don't know. I like her the most of the various Forsaken archetypey things. And the fact that anger is her primary emotion just feels relatable.
I feel like she's a toddler who wants to break things, right? And she's like, ooh, White Tower, I'm going to break it. Cracks it in half. He throws this piece away, throw that piece away. Anytime someone tries to build something, she's just stomping all over it. She's like, screw you. I don't want you to build anything successful. And I will go out of my way to ruin anything you do rather than build something on my own because you denied me from getting into your ivory tower.
Yeah, toddler in a meltdown. Absolutely. I love the image of her just stomping on a sandcastle, kicking over a Jenga tower. Just
yeah. With like Suan and Elida and like Egwene trying to set up their respective towers all at the same time.
Yeah.
And she's going from one to the other, like undermining them each, like digging a hole next to it so it falls, splashing water on the other one.
Totally.
Kicking the third one down.
And yeah, that's all I got. I got the readout, but
Yeah, I would agree. Read out.
She tried to deliver a broken white tower, Egwene thought, but that has failed. She was probably part of the attempt to kidnap Rand as well. Another fiasco. And the women sent to destroy the Black Tower? Masana would need something grand to offset so many failures. Killing Egwene would work. That might send the White Tower back into division. Gawain had been mortified when she said she might use herself as bait. Dared she do so? She gripped the railing, standing above the tower, above the city that depended on her, looking out on a world that needed her. Something had to be done. Masana had to be drawn out. If what Sarenn said was true, then the woman would be willing to fight directly. She wouldn't hide and poke from the shadows. Well, she can do both. Egwene's task, then, was to tempt her with an opportunity, one that didn't seem obvious, one she couldn't resist. Come, Egwene said, walking toward the ramp back down into the tower. I have some preparations to make. Quilting.
That counter is just going up every time you say quilting.
A show of hands from the audience, live and recorded. How many of you are quilters? Because I have just been bit by the quilting bug. I have finished my first pieced top. I have not done my sandwiching because I don't have enough batting. But I officially would like to quit everything in my life except for cutting and pressing and stitching. That's the only thing I would like to do with my life from now on, please and thank you. That is my TED Talk.
I'm familiar with some of those words, but you're using them in a context I am not familiar with, and that's confusing me a little bit because I don't understand. I kind of do because I kind of know what quilting is, but I really don't.
Well, I barely know what quilting is. My mom decided she wanted to get me into quilting this summer, so she's now given me several books that she's gotten from secondhand stores and stuff, strip quilting and machine quilting and piece quilting and all this stuff. And she got me started on my very first set of blocks. It's just square, triangles actually. It starts out with you cut out squares and then you make them into triangles and then you assemble them, and it's the simplest possible design, but it's just very satisfying because it's all about precision, right? You make first of all, so with sewing, you normally have shears, like scissors, right? And they distort the fabric as you cut. With quilting, that will never work for how precise everything is. So you have a rotary cutter. And that is the coolest thing ever. Oh my God, they're so sharp. And it cuts so precisely. So you have all of these like hard plastic things that you can use to create guidelines. So you can cut things super precisely, so precise. And then you line them up and you pin them really precisely. And then you put them through the sewing machine at an extremely precise seam allowance. And it's very, very precise. And then you have to press it, iron it, the very hot iron, and turn it and press it again and make it all very, very crispy and like laid out. And the seam allowance has to be like all pressed to one side and like extremely pressed and crispy. And then you just keep doing that in bigger and bigger spirals. And it, not spirals, but like it iterates upward. Sometimes it's spirals. And it's, like I said, this is my very first quilt, so it's not super precise. There's a lot of things wrong with it. I just picked some random fabric and kind of just started slamming it together because I wanted to learn the basic mechanical skills before getting like lost in the weeds of like, oh no, my points don't match. This is really important fabric. Like that's for later. And yeah, I've gotten to the point where I've done the top. So I have 6 big squares and it's like, it's not a huge quilt, but you know, and a quilt is defined as a sandwich, right? It's 2 layers of fabric with something squishy in between. Like that is a quilt in terms of it being a blanket. And yeah, I don't have quite enough batting to do that, so I get to skip the part that's boring where you have to sandwich the thing together and like baste it and figure out how to stitch over the whole thing to like make it get held together, which apparently there's this whole machine called a long arm machine where the quilt basically stays in place and the machine moves over it to do the like invisible patterned stitching that holds everything together and keeps it from sliding. Yeah, apparently a lot of people just do the top part and then pay someone else to do the other parts, kind of like taking a picture to a frame shop. Like you pick out the batting and the fabric, but then they have the cool machine and the skills and they actually assemble it and make it look nice so that you have a finished thing. And some people use quilts for wall hangings or for blankets or tablecloths. You know, like there's so many different kinds of applications for the basic concept of quilting. Obviously, also quilting is like a thing poor people do to save fabric, right? There's lots of instances of people who are poverty stricken being like, well, if we take these bits and pieces of fabric and stick them together, we're still warm, right? So there's many, many regional cultures or regional styles of quilting that are based on that. Gleeman, obviously a great example of a quilting style sort of thing being done there.
They're just like letting the ends. I feel like they're quilting it together and just not trimming the ends. And that's where you get that fluttering in the wind bit of it.
Which definitely makes all of the quilters who like precision very angry. But it's a stylistic choice.
Especially, I mean, that's the whole thing is he's advertising it, right? Like this is an advertised, not the normal way of doing it, right? These are my multicolored, lots of different patches quilting.
Right. And now I have a new way in which to conceptualize what I'm going to do with all my scraps from other projects. Like instead of like, I don't know what to do with these, I guess I'll give them to like St. Vinny's so that they can shred it for packing material. And I was like, oh no, if this is a cool fabric, I can just put it into a basket and say, eventually I can quilt it. Eventually I can quilt it into something. Like this is going to be, it satisfies so many parts of my crow brain, my goblin brain.
The hoarder part, the pack rat part.
Well, all hoarders and all quilters are hoarders. Like that's just a thing. All of them have fabric, more fabric than they could ever sew in their lives. That's just a thing. Sewing people are like that. Sewing people are materially grounded people. We need our stuff in order to exist.
Right.
But it's just, it fits the same boxes as like Candy Crush, right? It's like just these little hits of dopamine as you just go through these steps. And also it's so autistic. Like, it's so freaking autistic. Like, yeah, autism didn't exist until just recently. But tell that to all of our grandmothers who invented sitting in a room, cutting up tiny little pieces of fabric into very precise shapes and putting them all together very precisely over and over and over again. Yeah, no, autism definitely just came about, for sure. For sure.
I also can't think evolutionarily why that would be advantageous for anybody.
Nah. Oh, and we do have quilting in the chat. Okay, so Mom Jean says there's an event called Victoria Quilts where 60 quilts were made in an afternoon by a troop of volunteers. Yeah, those are people who have done many quilts already.
Yes.
That is definitely experienced quilters. But yeah, if you want to listen more of me talking about quilting and all other things sewing with my mom, who has infected me with this bug, you can go over to Used to Sew. It's a podcast that I do. We talk about all things sewing, and quilting is definitely coming up a lot lately because I have been introduced to this, and now quilting is my life. Like, I don't want to do anything I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to sleep. I'm definitely not going to podcast or have relationships with people. Absolutely not. I am back into the room to find more things I can cut up and put together.
I'm deep into home ownership land. I'm swapping out light fixtures today. I was up on a ladder. We got so we had one of those fluorescent office long lights in our closet, which was just awful and wasn't really working that well. So I ripped that out. And of course I pulled the anchors behind it they were jammed up in there. So I had to pull them through the drywall. So I kind of have to patch up the drywall and everything, but never bought this pretty light that she decided she wanted inside the bedroom. So now I'm replacing the bedroom light, and then the bedroom light's going in the closet, right? So it's a multi-step process. So I got about halfway through that today before I realized I was running late for the podcast and I had to run. But yeah, similar sort of like, I like that sort of, this is my first time owning a house, right? We've been in here for 9 months ish. And there's a few little things I've had to fix, right? There was a clog in the drain pipe for my AC condenser, and that involved cutting PVC and finding replacement pieces and gluing it back together. And then there was, light fixtures to change out and locks failing to fix and little things like that. But I find those not frustrating, but fun to fix. Right. I'm still enjoying that part of like the homeownership. I think a lot of people really struggle for their first year in homeownership, either because they end up in a house that's too expensive, right? And you don't realize all the unforeseen costs. But fortunately, we ended up in a house that's in pretty good shape, and I only have to fix little minor things and tweak little things. And so far, I've been enjoying all of those little things to adjust. And so, yeah, that's sort of been my little obsession lately, is like the things that I am able to sort of control in my environment for the first time in my life. Right.
Yeah.
And I've been a renter the rest of my life. And now it's like, oh, that thing's broken. I can fix it, and I can make it better, and I can make it fit my preference.
Hell yeah.
So I'm enjoying that.
Having agency over the environment you live in.
Yes.
Mwah.
And I'm still getting used to it. Like there's still, I know my brain has been renting for such a long time. It's like I want to paint, but I think it's become very difficult for me to even decide on a color.
Right.
Because it's just like, oh wow, yeah, I can control the color, but there's so many options. So I'm building up to it slowly, which is fixing things as they break and replacing things. And I've read a few things that say, it takes a year or 2 or 3 to really understand what you want in a space when you first move in. You're not necessarily going to be able to move in and do a bunch of renovations right up front that are going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, I was really glad with our house that we moved in and was like, well, there's no wood stove. So we know what our first project is. And then that led us to learning that our roof was in much worse shape than we thought it was. So like our first 2 years, we didn't even have to make a choice. We just had a big project that like shaped all of the other like ancillary projects around it. So that got us through that kind of like, we didn't get stuck because it was like, no, this is where all the brain power is going. All the money.
Yeah, because there's a limit. There's how many things you can do at once where you're like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm trying to stay within the budget and I'm trying not to spend too much money and just like replace all the fixtures in my house at once. And, there's just no need to do that when they're all working.
Right. Yeah, after we're done with this recording today, I'm going to be helping Mr. Homeowner replace all the breakers in our house.
Oh, wow. That's a big project.
Yeah. The power out here, when it goes off, sometimes it goes off very messily, like on, off. And it like we've had like 90-second long like brownout cycles before it finally finishes turning off. So we've had a few weird electrical things where we're like, you know what? Let's just replace all the breakers. Let's just, it seems like one of them might be faulty. So let's just replace all of them. And then hopefully we don't have to go to the bigger box or the bigger box. Hopefully just the regular house breakers will fix the problem. But
so you're not replacing your box at all, just every breaker inside of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So at least you can switch off the main breaker.
Yeah.
The main again, and so you're not, So still, that's definitely one of those things that you want to be careful with, right? That's a very very that's one of the more dangerous things you can do as a homeowner is fuck with your breaker box.
It's wild to me, the shit that you're allowed to do with your electrical as a homeowner.
Yeah,
like it amazes me the stuff that the homeowner is expected to do. Like we're like, yeah, you can get an electrician if you want, and it's like, really? You're just gonna let me make that call? That seems a little dangerous, but okay. But yeah, fortunately, I've got many engineering and construction-minded people factoring into how Brandon is approaching it. So we'll be all right. But yeah, that's after recording today. I'm going to help him turn off the house and fix all of the breakers.
Yeah, one thing I'm discovering in my house is all the wire connections are made with nuts and no tape. And I'm like, ooh, we're going to tape those up. Every time we open one of those, we're taping it up.
Again, homeowners and the electrical shenanigans that the state has no problem letting people get up to. Oof. So yeah, we are adults.
Yes.
Are we ready to talk about books we read as children?
Right.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.